Disclaimer: the entire video is written by the WriteSonic.com AI. Everything you're about to see and hear, from the title to the intro to the entire script itself, was written by AI and not fact-checked. This video most likely contains misinformation. Any misinformation within this video is in no way intended. Half-Life is widely considered to be one of the greatest first-person shooters ever made. Its tight shooting, rich world design and atmospheric tension all helped it achieve rapid critical acclaim upon release. It's also an almost absurdly dense game, packed with story details, background information and hidden secrets. The game is so packed with information that its in-game research notes stretch over 400 pages when printed out. While this helps give the game a sense of realism, it also means that a lot of information is lost on the player. This video will explore some of these details by analyzing the chapter On a Rail from the Half-Life games. What happens in the level on a rail? The level on a rail takes place towards the end of the game. The player is able to access the hidden research facility to find the scientist Dr. Kleiner, who tells them that Dr. Mossman has been abducted by the alien race known as the Combine. The player must travel through this incredibly hazardous wasteland in order to board an old, decommissioned train that was once used to transport supplies throughout the area. The train journey itself is a surreal experience. While traveling, the player becomes aware that they are actually in a virtual reality simulation. As they journey through the wasteland, the player must avoid the hazards posed by the malfunctioning simulation, including the G-Man, a mysterious, almost supernatural figure who is observing the player's every move. After a long train journey, the player reaches a hidden laboratory where they must defeat a strange, tentacle-like creature to gain access to the next area. The difference between On a Rail and other Half-Life levels. As mentioned, On a Rail is a virtual reality simulation. The level feels different from the rest of the game because it lacks much of the background detail that the rest of the game has. This is because the level is, of course, a simulation, so it doesn't have any of the real-world details that other levels have. The player starts the level with a lower amount of health than normal. This is because the player is in a VR simulation and has been injured as a result of the virtual hazards. There are also less weapons available. The lack of weapons is due to the fact that the VR simulation is running out of control, so some areas will be less populated than they normally would be. Why people hate the level on a rail? The level on a rail is one of the most hated Half-Life levels. Fans of the game often consider it to be a poor introduction to the game and claim that it's boring. These complaints are due to the fact that the level is very different from the rest of the game. The level is set in a VR simulation, so it doesn't have the same level of background detail as the other levels. As mentioned, the level also begins with less health than normal. Why I like the level on a rail? The level on a rail is often derided by Half-Life fans. However, I think that it's one of the most interesting levels. It punctuates the shift from the normal world of Half-Life to the bizarre VR world of the later section of the game. It also serves as an introduction to the G-Man, a mysterious and supernatural figure who seems to be observing the player's every move. The level can be approached as a puzzle. The player has been injured, so they must take more care while exploring. In a shift between normal and VR worlds, the player can be seen as moving from a state of normal consciousness into a state of altered consciousness. In this sense, the level on a rail can be seen as a metaphor for transition. Conclusions. The level on a rail is hated because it's very different from the rest of the game. It doesn't have the same level of background detail as the other levels, and it begins with a lower amount of health. However, it provides an interesting shift in tone to a bizarre and surreal VR world. It also serves as an introduction to the G-Man, a mysterious and supernatural figure who seems to be observing the player's every move. The level on a rail is often derided by Half-Life fans. However, I think it's one of the most interesting levels in the game. It punctuates the shift from the normal world of Half-Life to the bizarre VR world of the later section of the game. It also serves as an introduction to the G-Man, a mysterious and supernatural figure who seems to be observing the player's every move. This is the end of the AI-generated section. So, while obviously this is pretty bad, not only because factually it is completely off the rail, no pun intended, and because it keeps repeating in the same phrases. Nobody could seriously post this as a blog article or use it as a script. They would need to tweak it a lot. However, while the script itself is pretty garbage, A, it's a very niche topic, and I assume that if I had chosen a more broad topic, I could have gotten better results. And B, besides the script itself, it also gave me outlines, and the outline used for this was actually pretty decent. There were also some less decent outlines, and one of them I would like to share because the results are just very funny to me. While I think this might have been a very interesting article to write, it's even further off the rails than this version that you've gotten. But it does show that the AI is more trained for historical and political kind of stuff. And I believe that in that regard, certainly you can get great results with this AI. And if you don't believe me, the link is in the AI generated description. Go check it out for yourself. I hope you enjoy your weekend or the rest of the week depending on when you're watching this video. Bye bye! Hi, Future Me here. I forgot to say this during the video, but if you do want to learn more about On a Rail and why it's not as bad a level as people say it is, there is a proper video essay on it by the channel Purple Kernel. It's pretty good, check it out, it's linked in the description.